Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of time and talk about perfect squares and square roots. Now, before we get into this, you have to understand where this idea comes from. When we're talking about perfect squares and square roots, we really are looking at squares themselves. And what square roots are based on, or how we find square roots, we're really focusing on the area of a square. So if you look here, I have 3 different squares, and the area of the squares are 1, 4, and 9. If the square has an area of 4, then what we're going to say is the root of the square is 2. If an area of square has an area of 9, like this one down here, then the root of the square would be 3. The area, again, just like at the very top, has an area of 1, then the roots would be 1. So what we're looking for when we're finding the square roots is we're really finding the side lengths of the square. So say I drew a square here that, let's see, was, let's do a 4 by 4 like I have right here. Okay. If I look at my area and I count these up, I'm going to see that it is an area of 16, which would mean the root of the square would be 4 because these are the side lengths, right? Pretty easy when I have a picture. But sometimes we'll take it out of the picture, and that's when things can get a little more interesting. So you've probably seen some symbols like we have over here on the left, right? The square root of 49. What this tells me is I'm looking at a square, and the area of that square is 49. Now what I want to do is I want to say, well, what are the side lengths? Well, I know they have to be the same length since it's a number, so if you know your multiplications, you may be able to say, wait a second, and my question mark kind of looks like it, the square root of 49 is 7. Because if I looked here, 7 times 7 is 49. That's why the square root of 49 is 7. Same thing if we look at the next one here, square root of 121. Well, again, it's like I have a square, and the area is 121. Now I'm trying to say, what are my side lengths? What are the roots of this square? Okay? Again, if you know your multiplication facts, you're asking what times itself can I get to be 121, because it has to be the same number. Now, if you're not as strong with those multiplication facts, we can come over to my calculator here on the side, and I'm going to do the square root of 121. And when I put that in, it's going to tell me that the square root is 11. And if you check that out, and we went back here and we said, all right, we're going to say it's 11, because 11 times 11 does equal 121. These numbers always have to be the same. That's what makes it a square, perfect square. Okay. Now, what if we have some instances where I'm saying, okay, I have a square root of 15. That means my area is 15. And again, I want to know what are the roots. What are the side lengths? Well, I don't know anything off the top of my head, so let's check it in the calculator over here. Let's go to my square root, and let's do 15. Now notice, we get a really long decimal. What that tells us is that this is not a perfect square. It's not a perfect square because our answer that we got over here was this 3.8729833346 that we see happening over here on the side. Okay, whenever we have a situation like that, that is an imperfect square, and the best thing we can do is estimate it. So I can do this one of 2 ways. I can either come over here and say, well, the square root is about 3.872, sorry, it's about, or we can say it's between, okay, between 3 and 4. Right? But closer to 4, right? Because it's 3.82. So these are our 2 perfect squares below it, right? Because 3 squared would give me 9, and 4 squared would give me 16. 15 falls in between those. This is where we have an imperfect square, and we're just going to be estimating what's it between, what's it about, okay? And luckily our calculator can help us out with that. So let's do another one, and let's do the square root of 40. Again, it's not a perfect square, so I'm going to come over to my calculator. I'm going to say I need the square root, well, missed my second square root of 40. And if I look at that again, see how I get at that long decimal number? Anytime you get a lot of decimals coming in, that's not what we're looking for. When we're looking for our perfect squares, those answers are going to come out to be whole numbers. So no decimals when we're looking at that. That's how they want us to look at them as of right now. Our perfect squares are going to be whole numbers. So this one for 40 would be about 6.324. Right? And again, that's why my little squiggly equal sign. Not exactly, but it's an estimate. Okay, so big things to get out of the square roots. Square roots are the side lengths of the perfect square. And the number that's underneath my radical right here is going to be the area. So remember, this is an area of 49, a square with an area of 121. And it's a square. And my roots are my side lengths here. So like we had 11 and 11, right? So I have my roots on the side, and then inside right here would be the perfect square itself. Okay, so that's a little breakdown on squares and square roots.